crack again there, YouTube. Your good friend Dasmer coming back at you. Oh my god, he's back. Can you believe it? Oh my god. Hey, what's been going on? As I say, do run my own business. So sometimes I do get busy, and then when I get busy, I get kind of, man, I don't want to do nothing. And, to be perfectly honest with you, and you know what, I didn't want my first video back after a bit of a break to be a bitch video. Not too really happy with what's going on in the sports gaming scene. It's, you know, TBH, to be honest. It's a little sad. Yeah, 2011 would be a year to skip. But you know what, don't want to dwell on that. Want to come back at you with a little bit of fun, a little NCAA 12. I know maybe not everybody's favorite game with what's gone on with this game and 4 patches. Hey, that's for my next vid. But in the meantime, I did promise going to come back at you with, again, a little more tips and strategies. And this time we're doing advanced tips and strategies. So it's going to be some advanced tips for you and some strategies on, you know, building that you know, lowly dynasty or lowly program up into a true dynasty. So pardon me as we build Coach Joe Schmengi here. So that's the first thing. Make sure you're building yourself a, you know, fun little coach. I know they added the new little thing in there that you could start off as, and of course, alma mater Notre Dame, that you can start off with as an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. You know what, and I'm going to add my first little tip here for you. I found this playbook a couple seasons or a couple releases ago, is the Florida Atlantic playbook, believe it or not. It's a really nice playbook, especially for a so-so school and even a more powerful school. It really blends a really nice mix of option, passing, and running. Gives you the opportunity to run almost anywhere on the offensive line. Gives you all kinds of option plays almost out of every formation, which is really nice, especially when you're playing against another player. And yeah, lots of great passing plays and interesting mix of formations too. So let's get into some settings here for you. And again, going to my previous video here, you want to make sure that you're picking settings that are challenging for you, not frustrating, and again, not too very easy. And also, we'll talk a little bit here. You're going to see me move down the game speed. The player max speed threshold. I usually play that around 35-ish, and what that does is it'll actually distinguish between the fast players and the not so fast players and the slow players. Yeah, well, you know what, it tries to. One big beef with Tiburon's football games for many moon now is that they have a huge difficulty in interpreting speed and speed differentials between different players. This helps a little bit, at least if you got that real burner. He's gonna, you know, run away from defensive tackles. At least one would hope. Something else I want to talk about is recruiting difficulty. You'll see that that's just below the actual gameplay difficulty. If you're brand new to this game or you're new to the Dynasty mode, my recommendation would be, well, I play an All-American. All-American can be a bit finicky. You may want to go down to varsity. If you're brand new to say, the NCAA series, or brand new to playing the whole Dynasty mode, even go down one more just for your first year so you can get your feet wet and you don't get screwed over. And, you know what I mean? You'll actually end up with a pretty good little balance there. So as I said before, you can play as head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, one of the coordinator spots, and work your way up. For the purposes of this video, we are going to play as a head coach, and we're going to go down and check out the 1-star programs. And one thing you have to remember when you're picking your program here, well, you have to, you know, not really think about it, but you have to keep in the back of your mind is what conference you're coming out of, because that has BCS or Bowl Championship Series implications. Because, you know, obviously the first goal is that you're going to want to be a winning program. Second goal is you're going to want to win your conference. You're going to want to win the regional games, and then obviously you're going to want to go on to play for national championships, and at least in big BCS bowl games, because that's going to build your prestige up as you the head coach, you the program, and it's going to in turn allow you to recruit better and better players, and also from different areas of the whole, well, what is it, United States and, pardon me, and Canada. Little NASA 1 moment there. And as you can see, if you're playing out of the WAC or the Sun Belt or like Conference USA, you have to remember you don't get an automatic BCS bowl bid, so you could end up having to go, say, like 3 or 4 absolutely lossless seasons before you even get considered, and you'll be probably down in the bottom ranks, and you might have to do jerry-rig your schedule a little bit there too. So we put it up to 2-star programs. I talked about this last time. EA and the Tiburon team have actually been pretty generous with some of the ratings there, and not only that, it gives you a wide, pretty much every conference that you can think of that you get and play out of, even the almighty SEC, which everybody seems to be, as some people would say, dick riding. But we're going to, for the purposes of this video, we're going to pick a team that was good back in my younger years. I'm going to show a little bit of my age here, and the good old Green Wave of Tulane. So there's the contract. If you want to stop, pause, take a look at that. Don't forget to focus on, that's another aspect, is they've added in actual contract terms. I want to make sure that you're meeting those. It's going to be pretty simple, man. As long as you're winning, you're going to be able to meet those. So it gives you an opportunity if you want to create recruits. I've never ever done that in all the years of playing NCAAs. If you want to, if you really want to, you can create them. Don't forget, if you create them too good, most likely you won't be able to go to your school. So one thing I recommend doing is, let's go to the red shirt screen here and let's see what we're working with here. And don't forget the things I talked about in the last video is we're going to see, where we good at. Hey, Tulane's actually got a not bad quarterback, so at least we know what it is we can focus on doing in our first season here with this, wishy-washy or pretty much crap team. A not bad halfback. The other thing is to be thinking about is the good circular flow of players, because remember, after a player is a senior, they're gone for sure. If a player is decent, he could even leave as now as a sophomore when you get to that junior year. And the other thing, when we get on the red shirt screen, for those who don't know, is that you can effectively add a year of eligibility onto your player. So what that means is that you redshirt him, he stays, that player stays in your program, on your team. He's not eligible to play for you, but he still stays on your team. You can only redshirt a player once during his whole time playing for you, and you can recruit him later on. Though if they're better players, don't forget they can end up getting a little bit pissed off at you and leaving. But the nice thing is for lower level players is that you can end up redshirting them, and it actually gives them a nice little bump in their overall and different stat ratings. So like your 50-something, 53, say that middle linebacker there's a 53, maybe he gets like a 10-point bump, comes back as a 63. That's not too bad, man, all of a sudden. And it can also help you stave off the flow. I know one thing to keep in mind here is you're seeing a lot of juniors and a lot of seniors at certain positions here. Like basically our secondary is all going to leave. That's something I'm talking about, building that good circular flow, is you want to make sure you don't have your entire offensive line walk off on you and you have to end up with a brand new offensive line. Make sure you got that, good separation. Maybe you got a sophomore. Maybe even if you got a really good freshman in there, good enough to start. So there's the 3 functions there at the top. By the way, we're in the recruiting screen, and you can see we're just going to set up our initial recruiting board here. And what I do is I always do I just go to all recruits. There was the Spark Q, which is like, basically like your top 150 recruits that are available that year. There's even you can see there's a team needs. Again, gives you a great idea on the breakdown of that circular flow, and also where what's going on there, and is your team going to be in any dire need for something in the next year. The fullback position, I'll let you know, seems to be a bit bugged this year. I haven't played this game in a number of weeks. Don't know if they fixed it. Most likely not. And so just so you know, but you know what, you can get some really mutiny players from what I was playing with that fullback spot. But I've got a 6'3", 300-pound guy playing fullback in my one dynasty. Woo! So a couple things to keep in mind. So we're going to sort by interest, and the big thing here is you want to make sure that you're recruiting. That would be my first advanced, tip, strategy, and first piece of advice for you, is that you want to make sure, especially with a 1 or 2 star program, basically I would say cast as wide a net as possible. Try to bring in as much talent as possible, and as high as a level of caliber as possible. But you know what? Even those 1 and 2 star guys, never know, might turn into something. and they're most likely going to be better than the 50-something or even like 49-something guy that's sitting on your bench right now. Bringing a big giant crop, and when you get to the end of the season, when you do your roster cut downs, that's when you can, when you get your roster down to 55 man, that's when you can sort, you can sort the wheat from the chaff, and at least hopefully start to build that circular flow that I keep harping on about there. And the other thing is, you want to definitely make sure that you're going after your like what we needed a fullback. We got a fullback who's going to graduate on us. Make sure you're getting a fullback. Don't let yourself get in a walk-on position. Sometimes the games can be, a little forgiving to you. Most times it is not going to be forgiving to you. The positions I normally have gotten absolutely screwed at is the punter and kicker position. Make sure you're getting guys there. What are some other things to keep in mind? Another tip I'll give you is, this is even later on when you're, a 5-star program and recruiting from all over the place. Actually take the time to go in and make sure that you're looking at the ratings of the guys. Just because a guy's a 5 stars, sometimes that don't mean a whole hell of a lot, because you can find some 3 stars and 4-star guys who probably have better actual ratings, and they'll be a better player, by the end of one season of play. So, that's another little advanced tip for you from your good friend Das Merg. So, again, this is our initial setting up of the recruiting board. You don't have to do it here at this point. You can actually just skip into the season and do this if you really want to. And you can set up your recruiting board there. You're going to end up seeing me doing that, and that's going to be another thing another tip I'm going to say is that make sure you go in and you turn off the auto recruiting. You can actually do that from the screen as like recruiting aids or something like that. Is you want to make sure that you're actually you're doing the actual recruiting, because if you let the game do it for you, man, it can become a hot mess before you need it there. Yeah, it's there you go with the second column bottom row. There is a Oh no, that's the promises thing. We can talk about that later. So some actual, and the last thing is your pipeline states. That would be another big tip, and a huge tip I would tell you is you want to make sure, at least for your first 2 seasons, maybe even 3, maybe even 4, depending on how things go for you here, is you want to make sure that you're focusing on your pipeline states. And why I say that is twofold, is that you're going to get a big bonus for location on, I'd say between 60 to 70% of the players are going to want to actually stay, in their home state or near to their home state. So you're going to get big bonus points for that. Most likely that's going to be like an A+ for you. And you'll see a little bit later, we don't really got a whole lot going on for us here at Tulane. So anything that we can get going for us, to be honest with you, is a positive. And not only that, all players that come out of your pipeline states, you also are going to get a bonus on top of everything. So if there's a program of, equally mediocre status that's coming after a player, like that you're in a bidding war basically for a player, that little pipeline bonus is probably going to actually make the difference. Now, you'll notice when I get into the screen too, is that my pipeline states are Louisiana and Texas, I do believe, as Tulane. And the way you can actually add pipeline states through one of 2 ways. First is through a DLC. Again, it's up to you if you want to do the DLC thing. Or you can, if I remember right, I'm pretty sure it's, as long as you maintain 4 players from a state on your roster or more, that state actually ends up becoming a a pipeline state for you. So there's a little tip from your good friend Das Merg. So Louisiana will always be my pipeline state, or whatever home state you play it, like you actually play it of, and then I get Texas on top of it. So I have to make sure that I'm keeping 4 Texas players on my team every single year, or else I'll end up losing Texas as a pipeline state, and then I can add other states on later. So that's an advanced strategy, but that's, I wouldn't worry about doing that right away, man. Because like I said, with a 1-star program here, we're just going to try to get as much talent in here as possible. Another thing for you is that when you're actually looking at the players, if you're not in their top 5, I wouldn't even bother wasting my time. And in fact, in this first season, top 3. Try to just go after guys that at least you're in the top 3 of their list. Like you'll actually see, who their schools are to start off with. Pardon me. And there's another little tip for you too, by the way, as I'm flipping through. excuse me, is that you can actually change around your schedule. The big thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to leave my schedule as is. I'm just going to make sure that it's balanced. This has been a problem with this game for quite a few years. Is the first thing is you want to make sure you're playing an even number of away and home games, and the next thing is you want to make sure you don't have like some ridiculous road schedule. Again, part of the schedule is locked. The locked games are your conference matchups, so you unfortunately cannot change those. You can't even change the home and away status. I can remember a season where I played 5 away games in a row. That would literally never, ever happen. So, as much as possible, you want to make sure that you're changing that. The other thing is that when your program starts building some momentum, say like 3-4 years, 3 seasons from now even, maybe even a 4th season from now, I'm going to want to make sure that I'm, what do you call it there, that I'm, I completely lost my train of thought there. It's all good. So we're going back there. We were checking out depth chart. You can actually do this a lot easier through the redshirt phase because you can, as you can say, kill 2 birds with 1 rock. You're going to check out what's going on there, and you can redshirt to see a redshirted that quarterback there. It's not a bad idea, and it also helps build up that circular flow. And also some of the tougher positions to recruit for, like quarterback, halfback. Maybe you got somebody decent there. Speed is one thing that I always go for in a player. That's to be honest with you, because that's what is it that my good friend Jimmy B always says you can't teach speed, son. That's like coach talk. Another thing is that when you're going through your roster here, you can see we got some pretty goofy stuff. Another advanced tip from your good friend Dasmerg: I would never keep more than 6 receivers, maybe 7 receivers. Like that 7th one is redshirted. I usually keep 2 tackles, like 2 left tackles, 2 left guards, 2 centers, 2 right guards. You know what I mean? I keep 2 of everything essentially. The 4 halfbacks, I might keep 2 fullbacks, and the game can get kind of goofy here sometimes. And here we go, we're advancing to the regular season. The game can get a little bit goofy with your roster. Like this team, this Tulane team, I think I've got 8 receivers. Like, what in the name of God do you need 8 receivers for? Even if one gets hurt, on the off chance that one of your receivers gets hurt for the entire year, and if you've got 6, and say you're carrying 3 tight ends, and you know what? In some instances, and a couple of the playbooks in this, it might be a good idea to think about the 3 tight end set. Another little tip from your good friend Dasmerg. Yeah, man, more than 6 receivers, again, you take your chances on that. Maybe you're carrying a 5th halfback, and you can always line him up out there, or at least one of the other halfbacks most likely is going to be half decent at receiving. So really keeping that many, and same with corners too. Another thing to keep an eye on is an advanced tip for you from your good friend Dasmerg that I would say is to keep an eye on the athletes and mutant players. I always say athletes because some of the best players that we've generally come across have come from the athlete, and they really don't fit any. They'll generally be good at 2 positions, usually one better than like a guy will be a pretty good wide receiver and a so-so corner, or he'll be just as good a corner as he would wide receiver, and you have to kind of make up your mind. Or a guy will be, a good defensive lineman and a good offensive lineman, but he'll be 6'6" and 300 pounds. So that's kind of a no-duh. But lots of times you end up with mutiny players, and that's like mutant size or just mutant statistics. Always keep an eye on that. It's nothing more fun than having a 6'8" wide receiver or a 6'8" tight end out there. It can make the game a lot of laughs. So we're actually going into the recruiting screen for each one. I recommend manually doing all this. If you're new to this and this is the first time you're seeing it, I know it's pretty antiquated. It really hasn't changed. It's pretty much a roll the dice type scenario, is that you're just asking questions and you can make promises. What I like to do when I'm talking to these guys is that I'll set up my board, and then I'll sort them by caliber, and then the top 3 or 4 caliber guys I'll spend about 40 to 50 minutes on. First thing I'll ask them is if I'm high on their list, say I'm like 1 or 2, is I'll ask them for scholarship first, and then I'll ask them as many questions as possible to unlock as much as possible. And you'll see why the ask a scholarship thing coming up, because I do get a what they call insta commit. Is basically ask him if he wants the scholarship, and he says yes, and he accepts right away. And you know what? All that time goes back in the pool, and that's important because you only get 10 hours a week to recruit with, and you can use that time in 10-minute blocks. So if you got 35 guys on your recruiting list, and you only got 10 hours at 10 minutes apiece, you do the math. It's not really a whole lot. Yeah, there's an instant commit right there. Woohoo! He's a 3-star, hard-hitting strong safety. That's another thing is, as long as you're not using the the downloaded rosters, I guess, because there's this whole tendency thing is still screwed up in this game. Ugh. We got this great new feature for you that's not going to work till next year. Don't be negative. Don't be negative. Anyways, though, man, if you've got like a what do you call it there? Like if you got a hard-hitting strong safety or corner that's got like unbelievable speed, grab them, because that's a great little attribute mix. Or the power running back with great speed, grab them, because that's that they don't come along very often, and that's a really nice attribute mix. And as you can see when I'm asking the questions here, and I can do a compare. That's another advanced tip is when you get in a dogfight with a team is that you can actually do you can basically shit talk another university. You just want to make sure that your attribute is higher than theirs, or else you're going to get 0 points for it. Loser. The other thing the DLC will do for you too is it has the recruit advisor, which is really handy. Because it will actually show you when guys come up, because sometimes they just come up as you'll get a 2 times. See, there's the things I'm good at, and everything else I'm pretty much mediocre or crap at. I got a lot of work to do with Tulane. A lot of work. So those are some things to keep in mind. Is try to take advantage as much as possible. I've never grabbed the DLCs for these games ever. I think they're cheating, to be honest with you. Pay for cheating, but hey, whatever. It's the way she rolls now. So there we go. Oh, and the promises, you unlock more promises as you make them. The one promise to try to avoid is the will defeat rivals, because I'm almost positive that's still bugged. So as long as you keep your promises to all your guys that you recruit, you end up unlocking more promises, and you also unlock more promises as you, the coach, earn more prestige. So video ran a little bit long. Wanted to cover quite a bit of stuff. This will probably be my last NCAA 12 video, unfortunately. Just due to the state of the game. So, but you know what? The last one was really popular, and I've had the number of comments from you guys out there. So, thanks a lot for a lot of the comments. Gonna hit you up with a bit of a bitch video. Your good friend Desmer, all angry. Some Battlefield 3, maybe. Been playing that on PC here and there. It's beautiful on PC, man. You guys on console, just stuck on console, you're missing out. And a little bit of Modern Warfare 3, we'll see. There's a lot of people do it a lot better than your good friend Desmerg. I know I put a fun little spin on it. I got Arkham City coming too, and Skyrim looks pretty sweet too, man. But I'm probably going to grab that for PC. So that's what's going on with me. Thanks for watching, and we'll check you again later there, YouTube.
All you who have made it to this point, you have just experienced a lump sum of heavy shit. And you're probably right now like, oh, fucked up, saying, oh, shit. I got to run over to one of my friends and shit and play him this shit. And you're going through all kinds of shit. But the point is that this is just a piece of the shit. This is a minute little speck of the shit. Tune in same time, same ragged channel, and we'll hook you up. We'll hook you up fat. We'll hook you up like you a relative. That's how we'll hook you up real fat, real good. Tune in same time, same ragged channel. Tune in same time, same ragged channel. Tune in same time, same